Hi, welcome to BBB. We're going to have a quick look at editing drum hits. We took some individual drum hits of the kit pieces during the Why Don't You Stay drum session with Scott Hyam. And right at the end of the session, I got him to hit 3 kicks on their own, 3 snare hits on their own, some toms, some cymbals, and they might come in useful during the mix for bolstering the sound we've already got. I could use them at a later session if I want to program them. But we also got the hits from the video, so captured with my phone, horribly distorted but full of character. They might come in useful. And we didn't have any direct microphones on the toms, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But if they need a bit of support later, I moved the snare mic over to each tom in turn and got a couple of hits there as well. And I can always superimpose them over the drum track when it comes to it. So let's have a look now. Here we have our tracks. Left and right overheads, snare and kick. Let's separate them up. I think the first 3 are kick. Yep. I think these next 3 must be snare. Yep. I think this must be a crash. Lovely. And this must be another crash over here. Great. Now over here are the tom hits and the video audio, which we'll come and have a look at in a minute. So the first thing is we're going to get these kick samples sorted out. Now our main concern here is making sure that we cut these out on the transient of the direct microphone. So let's zoom right in on this kick so we can see it in all its glory. Now I'm going to highlight the 4 tracks and make a kick. And make a cut. There we go. Okay, so you can see there's a little bit of a time difference. Here's the first transient of the kick, but this doesn't occur on the overheads until much later, just here and here. But that's just a natural time delay caused by the distances between the microphones and important to the drum sound, so I'm going to leave that. The next cut we want to make is once the hit is finished, so let's give it a little play and see how long it lasts for. Not too long, want to make sure it rings out nicely. Let's make a little cut there, and let's put a nice generous fade on the end of that. Okay, so that is our first kick. Let's move over and do the next one. Same deal here. We're going to make a kick according to the transient on the kick direct mic. And let's let it ring on. That's probably good enough. Make a cut there. And let's go and do the last one. Here we go. So, we now have 3 kicks on their own, no spill, not part of the performance, and later on they might come in very handy. So to export them, I need to name them carefully. So we're going to go from the top. Firstly, these 3, they are kick. So we're going to start with kick. They're an overhead, they're left, and this is the first sample. Logic has cleverly named them 1, 2, and 3. I can copy that file name, and let's do the next. This is the overhead rights. So now we've got kick, overhead, right. 1, 2, and 3. This is what little of the kick got through to the snare mic. Let's have a listen and see if it's significant. I don't think I'm going to keep that. That doesn't really seem to be particularly interesting. But we are definitely keeping the kick direct. So we're going to name this one kick. Direct. 1, 2, and 3. So now we have some samples. The kick direct 1 with its overhead left and overhead right 1. Kick direct 2 with its overheads, and direct 3 with its overheads. They all start in the right place to keep the relationships of phase and timing together, and all I've got to do is export them. So I'm going to export this one as an audio file. I'm going to navigate through to my audio library here, to hits, real drum hits, new folder, Drum Hits, Scott Hyam 2016. They are 24-bit WAV files. I'm bypassing any plugins. And let's save that first one. Okay, Kick Direct 1, Kick Direct 2, Kick Direct 3. I'll do these and I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so I've done those kick samples. Now for a minute, let's just leave Logic and let's go and check they've arrived in the folder. Okay, so we're going to go to my audio library, hits, real drum hits, Scott hits. Here we go. And then we have our samples. Nicely trimmed up, and they'll really come in useful in the mix. But like I say, you can use them anytime you want. No one else has got those samples, so they are unique to you. Okay, so this is the snare drum. Now, I don't think we need to keep the spill on the kick mic. That doesn't sound too interesting. You can keep it if you really want to, but I don't think you need to go overboard with samples. So let's zoom in a bit, and let's cut this first one here. Let's move to the second. Here we go. Cut there, and let's move to the third one. Now we've got our 3 snare hits there. Let's trim them up. Okay, they ring on for quite a long time, and I want to keep the ring. And the last one. Are we a little bit short there? No, we're fine. That's great. And let's not forget to put a little fade out on the end. Again, let's name these up. So this is snare, overhead, left, 1. This is snare, overhead, right, 1. And this is snare, direct, 1. There we go. I'll export them later just to keep the video short. Right, I'm going to do the same here for the crash. Now, I don't think I'm going to need the spill on the kick and the snare mic for these crashes, so I'm going to get rid of it. And sometimes it's very hard to see where the true beginning of a crash hit is. The smaller you zoom in, the more you see little fragments of audio before it. But you can just do your best here. Let's see how long this rings on for. Okay, that's about right. And let's do the same for the second. Yeah, I think that looks like the beginning. Let's see how long this runs on for. I think that's about right. And let's put a nice fade out on the end of those. Now this time, we're going to have crash 1. And this is overhead left. And this second one is crash 2. Now there is a slight difference between crash 1, overhead left, and then putting a number. As in we only have one sample of each. So this one is crash 1, overhead right. Let's name the other one up. And change that to a 2. Okay, that's great. So let's move on. Now down here we have our tom hits. Now I'm not going to capture the overheads for these because we've already got the toms in the overhead recording, but we don't have direct hits. So here we have 3 rack toms. Now I'm not going to get 3. I think we could do with 1. It's unlikely we're going to need them. So I'm going to get rid of the rest of these. If you wanted to get the overheads because you're building up a sample set, that's fine. And let's call that Tom Rack Direct. And let's move on. Right, this must be floor tom. Yes, it is. Great. So let's zoom in on the beginning of the hit. That looks pretty good. See how long it rings on for. That'll do. And this is Tom Floor Direct. I'm putting Tom before floor, so it sorts all the tom samples out together. Otherwise, the floor tom would be under F for floor, and that just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Now, here we have the horrible audio from the phone video. That's a pretty impressive. That's a pretty impressive kick. Okay, they are pretty horrible. I think I'm going to keep one snare and I'm going to keep one kick. I don't think there's any need to have the rest. These are just going to be for a little bit of character later. So let's zoom right in on this hit. It looks horribly distorted, and in fact it is. There was no avoiding that. As you can see, it's clipped at the top of the waveform. Let's cut that there, put in a fade out, and we'll call that kick. I'm going to call it worst, because Moses Schneider, who I've mentioned in the book, always has one horrible sounding mic to give everything character, and in this case this is our horrible sounding mic. Okay, here we go. Let's try the snare. I think I'll try editing that there. I don't want all that ringing out, so we'll cut that a little bit short and put our fade out in the end. And we're going to call that snare worst. Now you can keep as many samples as you want. You could go to town and build yourself an amazing collection, but just for the sake of this video, I've kept it relatively short. So I'm going to go ahead and export all these to our audio hits folder, and we might need them come mix time, we might not, but anyway, you know how to do them now. I'll see you in the next video.